So this is a little tray that I made with some Zebrawood, plywood bottom, and walnut. And we had been out at a store, and I bought this chunk of Zebrawood, and it was kind of expensive. And I've been wondering what to do with it. The grain is just beautiful. And so I came up with the notion that I would take that chunk there and take very thin strips off and laminate them to a piece of walnut. This was some sketchy walnut that we had kicking around. So here you'll see the strips on the piece of walnut, which I then buzzed up on the table saw and ended up with these laminated strips. It's a little thick. It's a full 4/4 stock, lightly planed. So you'll see here in this section I've resawn the walnut sides down. I removed 3/8 of an inch. So overall they're about 5/8 of an inch, and I'm using a 1/4 inch round over bit here. And my idea was that the top would blend over and one would seamlessly flow into the other. And for the most part it worked out quite well. The Zebrawood does tend to be a little bit coarse, but once it was sanded and filled with a little bit of poly, it actually transitions very nicely from one to the other. And there's some of the aforementioned sanding right now. So there's a piece of ply. It's cut to length, and I'm going to just go ahead. The sides have now been sanded and rabbited on the bottom to accept the bottom. So I'm going to pop some 23 gauge pin nails in that to hold it together while it's setting. And if you don't have one of those little 23 gauge pin nailers, they're just amazing because they leave no marks at all. So it's square. There's the piece of ply, stained with Jocko Bean Minwax stain, I believe, from Home Depot. I took a little plane here, and I'm just knocking the edges off so they're a little smoother. We won't see them anyway. And we're going to glue up the bottom. And I don't have to worry about wood movement with the plywood bottom, and that was kind of a bit of a concern. I would have liked to use the pure walnut on the bottom, but so there we are. Bottom's in place. We're going to clamp that down and kind of clamp it all over just to make it even. I have had issues with trays in the past not drying flat. They tend to warp a little. So there's a bunch of sanding you missed in here, but no one wants to see sanding. So there's wipe on poly from Minwax, and you can see this grain is just crazy funky, and I love it. Looks very rich and very dark, especially with the dark inside. You'll see it really starting to come together. So I was happy with how it was going so far, and I wanted a few more details, but overall it came out great. I missed a big spot on the bottom there, which I will now go fix up. But overall, the dark and the Zebrawood, very striking. So I just touched that little spot up there. That's the product shot, product placement. There we are. All right, so now I went over to the scroll saw, and I took some of that 3/8 walnut that was left over from resawing, and I made up a bunch of these little L-shaped L-shaped feet, and I wanted to have a very, very small foot on it, but nothing too distinctive. And I left this shot in here because I like that it's walking away from me. And sand them up, clean them up. I ended up putting a very small 45-degree angle on them, and you'll see here when I place them. So this is dollar store epoxy. It's my favorite epoxy just because it's so cheap. Dollar store, couple little cups there. Get those little shot glasses, and I'm just going to place the feet on with the epoxy. It works absolutely fine. I've done many things with it. I've held bowls together with it. I've done anything. It works as well as anything else. Yeah, I doubt it could do a whole resin top, but there it is. All right, so back to the 1/4 inch round over. No, 3/8 round over for this one. And I'm going to be making up a couple little handles, and I kind of made these up on the go. It's hard for me to get scale. I always worry about scale. So anyway, I just took these this little bit of walnut and rounded off the top and ended up with this kind of loopy looking thing. And there's actually two handles here, and I'll cut them in half when I'm done. Back to the 1/4 inch round over, did the fronts, the tops and the bottoms, because I wanted it to feel better when your hand was on it. And they worked out pretty well. There was a bit of sanding, a bit of shaping, but they're small parts, and walnut's not ridiculously hard. So, and then the gratuitous vacuuming shot, because I just love something therapeutic about cleaning up dust, and I don't know why, but it reminds me of a dog. No idea why. Anyway, there we are. A little jig I made to keep the handles in the right places all the time, and that's how it looks once it's finished and the handles are on. Thank you.